Hi, and thank you for coming by That's So Nova. Today we're going to be doing a sew along for the Sierra Messenger Bag, but not Sierra, the Sahara Messenger Bag by Catherine from Sew Your Bag. This was from the box of August. I am incredibly behind, but I'm really excited about this pattern. It is rated a beginner pattern, and everything that you need is inside the box that comes with your monthly subscription. Um, I actually really like this because then I feel like I don't have to look for hardware, I don't have to look for interfacing, I don't have to look for fabric. I have everything in the box, and I just download the instructions. You're ready to go. So without further ado, let's get started with this tutorial. I'm going to stick exactly to this tutorial and not make any modifications. However, I will show you steps that can help. I will mention steps in there to what I would do to help make the bag have more personal touch for me, or what could help with anything in there. So you might hear little tips and tricks throughout the whole entire bag. But I read through the instructions, which I always recommend everybody to do before you start any pattern. Read through all the instructions, get a pen or a highlighter, mark areas that you know you're going to have faults in, or areas that you think you can improve in. Like, I want to add a rivet here, or I want to skip this step here. I don't want a zipper pocket. I want a slip pocket. It makes your life a whole bunch easier, and then you're not frustrated thinking that you wasted really good fabric for something to go wrong. Everybody makes mistakes, and how we get better at sewing is through our mistakes. So I encourage you to just remember, sit back, enjoy the process, because this is part of you growing as, a sewist. So I'm probably going to make mistakes in this video and just correct them and just learn from my mistakes and keep it pushing. The seam allowance through this whole entire bag is 1/4 of an inch. There are very clear-cut instructions. We get to play around with some cool hardware, some hardware I have never messed around with, but I'm really excited. There's really cool tools that came in the box, like this hole puncher that is meant for leather, but you can use it on fabric, and I'm really excited. This was one of the first things I took out of the box, and in all fairness, I've been using it since August on everything. And because it has her personal touch, where it's this nicely black versus there's a brown one or tan one that has a wood handle that you can get on Amazon. But I don't know. I like sewing tools to look pretty, as you can possibly see. If I have to look at them all day, I'm not always looking at something pretty. So we're gonna get started. I have my iron ready, and let's start. So the Sahara. Let's get it done. So like before, I'm not going to give you any of the cutting measurements because that is part of the pattern, and I'm not going to take away from that. Please support this artist. If you don't want to have the box necessarily, but you still want the pattern, join the Facebook group. Go on the website, and you can purchase this pattern. And I love it because it's very one of a kind. If you're in the sewing world or the bag making world, sometimes you can see bags that are in repetition and you want something fresh in your palette. This is the bag for you. That magic hand is my husband. It's not in the way. Okay, he's moving wires. All right, so we're going to prep, and prepping is basically in this pattern is not fusing all your interfaces to their correct size, and then also basting. There is a 1-inch lip that doesn't have the foam on it, and so you baste the 3 sides. And I'm going to go ahead and press the 1-inch stitch, the 1-inch seam allowance that you fold over the 1/2 inch. I'm sorry, I can't talk. And we're just prepping. I do think ironing is super important. It can give your bag, I feel, like a more professional look. Sometimes when I skip this step, I honestly regret it. I don't iron my bias binding because I'm just unusual that way. But I do iron whenever I have fabric. I try to. So Catherine has a really cool method about how you can make sure that you're pressing down the right seam allowance. To draw a draw 1 inch, and then when you fold it in, it'll be exactly that half an inch. Okay. This is like gorgeous fabric. I love looking at it. This is the bottom piece, and I'm going to cut the excess foam. Because sometimes when you baste, the foam can stretch a little. And if that happens, just make sure you cut off the excess, because it's important that it doesn't become part of your seam allowance. And I just basted all the pieces together. You fuse the sew fuse onto your fabric, and then you machine base the Any Soft and Stable. And I'm going to just these swirls of gold. I don't know if you can really capture it. It's one of those fabrics that are just absolutely gorgeous to look at. Actually, all her fabrics are. That's my favorite part. I love how, okay, so she kind of puts it at the end of the box. So if you see me in my box openings, you'll see that I'm genuinely like really excited when I get these, because I love the fact that she puts the fabric at the end of the bag. So it's kind of like getting a Christmas present. And this Ankara fabric is just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know how she picks her fabrics, but you can't go wrong with this. Okay. All right. So we're going to grab our first piece, which is not the bias binding, the strap overlay. And that's on page 6. And we're going to iron it. And you're going to see right here, I messed up when I did the cutting instructions. So I had to create more, so I had to make it, make a strap so it could go together as one piece. So I'm just trimming the mini thread. I'm like, if you watch me, I'm really bad at threads. It's my Achilles. Folding it over on itself. Kind of making its half-inch seam allowance. Not half-inch, it's folding it in half. It's creating a C, so when we fold these two on themselves, it will have the perfect amount. It's not bias binding. I always want to say bias binding, but it's not. It's just, it's an overlay. I'm always awkward, like ironing on my little station, because I'm used to a bigger area. But take your time with ironing. Get that nice crease. You can use a clapper to even get a nicer crease. And a clapper is, oddly, I have it here because I do iron on this station. Because this, you press it down and it helps retain the heat and gives it just like a nicer crease. All right. I feel like I cut this wrong. I'm just gonna triple check. No, I did it right. We'll see. My spidey senses or my sewing senses saying I did something wrong, so we'll figure it out. I'm having I had an off week last week and I had okay days sewing, but sometimes I have off days. I don't know if it happens to anybody else, but where you have an off day and you're just like, okay, I gotta just walk away from this sewing project, walk away from sewing for a few hours or maybe the day because not today. All right. So this box came with a non-woven interface. If I can find it, I just remember grabbing it from my husband. So of course it's gonna disappear. I will find this. That's how it works out. I found it. Yay! It's in the box. Okay. We have our non-woven interfacing that we're going to place in the center of this and then refold it. The non-woven is perfect because it gives no stretch. And that's exactly what you're going for. You don't want your handles to have any stretch whatsoever, or it can get wonky or misshapen. You just put it down the center. Make sure you have the sticky side on the back of the fabric. You do not want to get it on your iron. If you do, you can use a dryer sheet to try to get it off, or there's stuff you can get at Joann's to it's called iron off, but the dryer sheet usually works. But iron off style stuff, every time I use it, I feel like I never use it right, and then it smells awful in my workroom for a couple days. So yeah, that's not fun. There's a little extra, so I'm gonna cut that stabilizer off and put it back in the box. And I believe this is Decobond 809. It adheres really fast. And I'm just refolding where I originally had the fold. Just so that way man, this little iron is super hot. That's not a bad thing. I had an iron where I was like, come on. Watch your fingers. I say that to you because I have a tendency of burning myself with irons all the time. It's a weird relationship I have with it. I'm just folding it so raw edges meet raw edges. And we're going to sew this to the strap the cotton webbing. It's this beautiful, I don't know what color this is. It's like a light brown. It's really pretty. Okay. Like a cinnamon. Okay. So I'm gonna say cinnamon, and you heard my husband in the background. Yeah, so it's really pretty. And I'm going to eventually fold all of this down. And then I'm going to put it to the side that I'm sewing on and just give it one more final press. Okay. I'm going to put my iron down on this little iron mat, and then I'm going to take my webbing and I'm going to place the overlay on top of one side, and I'm going to pop a few of these wonder clips or just clips. And we're going to put this overlay on, stitch it down, I'm going to put my ruler and put the hardware there. And we are going to sew this down across the edge, on the edge, and then we're going to set it aside. So back stitch really well from beginning to end, and I'm going to be at a stitch length of 3. And you're just sewing it 1/8 of an inch, and just back stitch, and take your time. There's like a rhythm to your machine. Sometimes, like some machines, I have to find my rhythm. Other machines, I'm just like, we're like totally copacetic and we're working out. Like, just keep this in mind. There's no race. No one's watching you to see you sew the fastest. It's just, there's no race. So take your time, enjoy the process, and some areas you're gonna sew fast, some areas you're gonna, take it nice and slow. Okay, I'm getting to the end, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this little excess tail. Throw this in the trash. When I get to the edge, I'm going to put the needle down, hop over a few stitches so I can sew down the other side. If you notice my hands, I kind of use it like, you see there's certain machines that they have magnets that go on both sides to help with the strap. So I've learned to just like hold my fingers, like kind of cradling it, like, and just let it go through. Like the fabric wants to feed however you want it. It's just like I said, finding your rhythm. All right, so we have the nice strap, and it's a nice reversible strap now. You can have the nice facing, or this nice cinnamon color, or the other color my husband said that I have never heard of before. I'm not that person that knows every color in the green buttons. It's brown. So we're going to put this on and we're going to attach the hinge part of the hardware. So again, really convenient that this box gives you all the tools that you need. So you have your little screw driver, which I have a million of these. I'm gonna tell you, I never have enough. Like, I have one at every sewing station, anywhere upstairs when the kids are in class. It's like one of my favorite things to have. They're perfect. All right, so we are going to put the bottom half on it. So we're gonna do this one at a time. If you have a metal bowl, I do have one, but it's full of pins. A metal magnetic bowl, which this was really hard to get off, is really handy for these screws, or putting your screws in a flat surface so that it doesn't roll is really important. I'm gonna get some glue because even though you screwed in, I like the glue. We're gonna do one at a time, so I'm gonna remove the screws. And I'm going to stick it inside this whole area so that way we all can see in case one disappears. I'm notorious for losing them. So I'm not going to even touch the other one because we're going to install this one at a time. What I like to do is I like to use Beacon, 809, whatever glue you have that is, a super, not a super glue, but this is like a 3-in-1 craft glue that you can get at Joann's. And I stick, as you can tell, my bottle's almost empty. I use a lot of glue, and I promise I will have a glue video. I might do that for Thanksgiving. Go over interfacings and weird glues that I have. I have glues for everything. And I run out of it so fast because I use it for everything. Okay, here we go. See? Glue shot. I just gave glue. Stop. All right, so all right, so we're gonna stick this inside and kind of just push until there's some resistance. Then we're gonna take our screw and do it straight on, because if you go on a side or whatever, you can strip it, and that's not fun. You're gonna screw these in. The first one I did exactly what you weren't supposed to. And the glue inside will help do it, but this hardware from SerialBagmakers is absolutely gorgeous. This is like an antique gold. It's not the brass color, but I love how it's beveled and you can't see the edges. Like, I'm kind of excited about this bag. This is going to be somebody's Christmas present, but they just don't know it yet. So we're going to do the other side. I'm going to use my same rubber band trick because I promise you, I buy these screws separate from whenever I buy hardware because I am notorious for losing. I buy also like the bigger screws too. Going to get the glue. Okay, I'm just going to leave this on its side because as soon as I put it up, like all the glue, it sounds like Darth Vader glue. I'm the glue father kind of scenario. Okay. And come on, glue. Now it's like slowly coming out. Okay. I'm going to just leave this on its side or upside down in something. So get this threads, just kind of jimmy this in until it gives you a little bit of resistance. You could put fray check on the screws. Sometimes when you do that, I like doing it like beforehand, like you pour it in the hole, but me putting the glue in and it goes down in it, it's going to catch with the glue. But you could drop a little freight check in the hole before you do the screw, and that can help too. We're going to put this strap to the side. And we're going to start creating the flap, and we're going to be using magnetic straps. Magnets. No. Okay, we're going to use 1/4 of a seam allowance. We're going to get the exterior. We're going to fold in half. I had a cool little pin right here. We're going to fold in half. Find that half mark. I like to do it on both sides. I connect. Okay, so this is going to be the front of the flap. So let's see. So what we're going to do is, okay, you have this really cool chance right now to figure out where you want the flap. Like, this is going to be, do you want this part to be, you want this part to be the end of the flap, or do you want it to be the top? Do you want this to be the end? Like, this is the time, because once you place this magnetic strap on the inside and the outside, I almost put the magnetic strap on the wrong side. You just seen that. All right, so we're going to get the right side of the, we're supposed to put the lining. I am so sorry. I brought the exterior with the foam and everything. Let's see. Let's get this lining. I always, again, try to trim up any extra interfacing, because you don't want that to be part of your seam allowance. This is like a little bit, it's a little bit over 1/8 of an inch, and that's affect where the magnet and your seam allowance is. So let me remark this, and my lovely husband got me a blue marker so you guys can see it a little bit better. All right. So what I do is I'm going to connect these, and then on page 8 there's a measurement of how much we're going to go up. And I'm going to mark that with an X. And I'm going to grab my magnets and my seam ripper and the interfacing. So I'm going to take this. I usually go at an angle. I don't know why. When I'm doing this, not dead on. I'm just going to mark where I'm going to be putting the magnet. Nobody can see if it's like straight or at an angle. I'm just sticking my seam ripper in there, and I'm just doing the smallest little hole. It's easier to create bigger holes than if you create something big and then we have to try to fix it. Yes, you could fix it, but it won't be as strong. I'm doing the same thing with the interfacing. Little hole. Not sticking my fingers like I just did. And we are going to take and put the metal part of this I'm going to put the female here. The washer just somehow. Let's see. Hopefully, there it is. Put the washer here. Keep all your hardware inside the little bags. It just helps out tremendously. I'm going to stick and the whole thing's a little bit bigger. If I have pretty check. If not, I'll just use glue. A little bit bigger. And this goes in. I'm going to take my glue bottle and very carefully, drop a bead of glue. And of course, it had to get a little stuck. Drop a bead of glue inside where the holes are, so that way it doesn't fray. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. Just, I glue everything because it's just what I do. I think it gives me some weird sense of security. I don't know why, but it does. So I'm going to take the washer and the paper. And the reason why you're putting the paper on this side down is so that way it won't the metal won't have as much friction. And then we're going to take a back of a tool or your thumb, and you're going to, you can press it in towards itself or out. It's really personal preference. I just like out. And we have our perfect little outie. And then we're going to get the flats, and we're going to put right sides. And this is again where you're going to figure out where do you want the front of your bag. Also, you can put a name tag or a logo here. I really like this, the gold, and I want it to be like a main feature on the bottom, like when you close the bag. So I'm going to stick this on top. And what you can do this. The seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. And if you have noticed, I'm a person that really likes to draw my seam allowances. And there's a reason. One, I mess up a lot. A lot. Two is that I'll show you when I lift the ruler up. When this is 1/4 of an inch, if I follow this, I will pivot right here and it'll be a perfect little box. Let me move this back. So I'm sewing, stitching 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, and I'll stop here, pivot, and go. So it won't be awkward, and I'm not trying to guess where to stop at. Although I do have 1/4 of an inch on my sewing machine, this little corner pivot thing I feel like is crucial for me. So I'm going to grab this, place it on top. Pop some clips on so that way it doesn't have minimal shifting. All right, put my seam ripper to the side so I can sew this, and we're at a 3. And we're going to backstitch really well at the beginning and end, and just pivot at the points that I showed you in the beginning. It'll be fine. I'm always impressed when somebody can do this without it. I'm going to hand crank to get exactly on the line. And then one thing I noticed to help skip, like you don't have that weird triangle stitch or when you pivot a corner, is to make your handle go a little bit up like the needle's about to go. Really? Really? Are you trying to do the Heimlich? Yeah, I can't. Oh, okay. Yeah, just so you guys know, I can't edit, and my husband's fairly new to this. So when there is a scene, I can't edit it out. So all my mistakes are happening. And this is how I make everyday bag, minus the popping. Okay. And then I'm just going to pivot. And back stitch. Okay. All right, so we're going to turn this, but I'm going to trim. So I'm going to go in the angles where I showed you, where I drew the things. I'm going to get as close as I can. You could pink all the way around here, and it'll help flatten out the corners a bit. But 1/4 of a seam is not a very big seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm using these applique scissors, and I'm going to cut around the foam to 1/8 of an inch. Now I don't think this is in the pattern. I'm looking at it right now while I'm doing it, but I personally love cutting the foam with applique scissors because it will lay flatter and it won't have that bulk or that faux piping look to me. Personal preference. Okay, so I love foam. I know I hear a lot of people skeptical about it, but the structure on foam is ridiculously awesome. And there's something about anti-soft and stable. I can't put my finger on it. It's just when we put the bag together, they're going to be like, it's magic. It sews really well. The more you sew with anti-soft and stable, the more condensed it becomes, and it's really domestic machine friendly, and you get really professional results. So I'm trimming down the foam, trimming down the foam. Oh my god, my dog just freaked me out. Didn't have a heart attack right there. Yep. She just starts sniffing my leg. Hi, Roxanne. Alright. So we're going to turn this inside out. Stick your hands in. See, I'm trying to see. Get a poke out the corners. And you want a blunt object. You don't want to like go in there and just like ruin your corners, because that would not be fun. I like the bone folders that people use for making journals and books because it has a round corner and it just, I don't know, just it's blunt and it's perfect. All right, so before we top stitch this, I'm gonna not put the wire there. Press this and see by trimming that foam, it kind of wants to like roll now over the lining so you won't have this. So we're gonna press this so that the lining stays behind, so when we top stitch you don't see it. Again, pressing. And then what? Pull the lining and give that a good press. You don't want it to peek through. Do you see how, like, by drawing, it comes out, it's more squared, and it's less bulk, less guesstimations. Man, this is pretty fabric. Like, it, like, I don't know. I keep wanting to, like, dip my finger into the gold, and I know it's not, like, real. That's my gut instinct. So we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. You can go a bigger seam stitch, like 4 millimeters, but I'm going to just stick it to the 3. And I'm going to back stitch 1 or 2 stitches just to lock it in. And 1/8 of an inch is like in between my foot, like the foot of my machine. So I'm just taking my time. When I get to the corner, again, I will hand crank it to the end so that way I can get that perfect seam. When you're at the bottom, because the lining seems to always want to like roll over at this point, just tug a little bit. Tug it and it will fall in line. That sounds really weird now when I say it in my head. See, it's a little, it wants to not fall in line. Just do a little pull. Get to that end corner, put needle down, pivot. Okay, we're done with the flap. Let's see. Trim these threads. We're done with this flap. You have a nice top stitching all the way around. All right. So we're going to grab, we're on page 10. We're going to grab our we're going to install the magnetic closure on our pockets. So we need our slip pocket, exterior, and lining. Let me grab all these pieces. And here we go. I'm going to put this other stuff to the side. Drink some water. Not choke like my husband. All right. Trim any excess sew so it doesn't go in the seam allowance. Now I keep repeating that, but that's just remind myself because I'll see like white and I'm like, I'll just add it. Then I'll be upset. When all the lining doesn't catch. Because like this is like 1/8 of an inch of on my side. I started block fusing, and the bad thing about block fusing and not cutting exact is this. It's like you're double cutting sometimes. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. So we're going to lay the front slip pocket wrong side up. And okay. Get my double marking tool. Let's see. And we're going to put a mark there, and then we're going to take the magnet stabilizer and place it there. We're going to iron it on to give it the reinforcement. All right. And the dot's still showing, but I'm going to redraw it just The measurements are on page 10. All right. And quite slant. Let's see, grab my little seam ripper. And then some glue over the hole, and just where the magnet's going to be. Then you don't need the glue. I love glue. All right. Inside or out, it's your preference. And we cut the slits, we bend the metal washer, and then we're going to take do a 3-minute seam allowance and put right ends together. And sew along the top raw edge at 1/4. Match the bottom raw edges and okay, we're going to do the long edges at 1/4 of the seam allowance together. So I'm going to clip this because they're the back lining. This is pretty cool. The back lining is like a little bit bigger, as you can see. Like it's about 3/4 of an inch bigger. And there's a reason. It's gonna be like a magic trick. You'll see. Just like I said, enjoy the process, trust the process, trust the designers because their brains are amazing. So we're going to do 1/4 of an inch on one side. So back stitch, go across, back stitch, cut threads, 1/4 of an inch back stitch, go across, 1/4 of an inch, all the way across back stitch. We're not doing the short edges at all. Bring this over to the sewing machine. I'm using my 1/4 of an inch guide that is on my sewing machine. Trim threads. We're going to do this one again on the other side. All right. So we're going to turn this right side out. And when you roll the seam, let me get my iron, it's going to create this like really cool pocket effect. Like a lip, like it's really cool. You're just gonna roll, and then this becomes this cool feature, like a solid amongst the the color, so it's really recognizable. I really actually like this technique, and I've been using it because we used it in the first box in July, and I've been using it in a lot of bags when it calls for slip pockets, because it's just really a cool effect. Here's my little bone finger and press this out. Just using my bone finger to crease out the and just press. And see, it's just really cool, this solid color. And we're going to top stitch just across just 1/8 of an inch, just to lock in all the it's just an extra reinforcement of stitch, and then if it's a contrasting color, then it could be an extra feature. All right, so we're going to press this at 1/8 of an inch, not press, stitch. Back stitch. Trim up threads. All right. Okay. So we're on page 12. And we're going to create some kind of front pocket. We're actually assembling the exterior. We're going to use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And we're going to need the sides, the bottom, and the top, and then the panels. We're going to do a 1/4 of an inch right and left corner of the panels on the bottom. So we stop and start there. So I'm going to move the bottom and take the side panels and start with that. So we're going to take the bottom, we're going to draw a 1/4 of an inch box. So basically, this is when you can do my little method of drawing out your stitch, because you want to stop and start right at the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So, because you have foam, you don't want it to get bulky and it just decides to act a donkey. It gives it a nicer finish. My little Westcott ruler. I'm kind of like really obsessed with this. I should have stock in their rulers by now. And this is the last one. Okay. So we're going to stop and stop there. We're going to start. We're going to grab our sides and put them together. So where you have this fold over, make sure that's at the top and you don't accidentally sew that to the bottom. We're going to do right sides together. Flip up the folded area so that they can be stitched together. If you fold them down while you're sewing, it will not be fun. Because then you have to unpick. Make sure the sides are flush. And we're going to do 1/4. I'm going to make sure I roll up. So back stitch very well. Like 3 to 4 stitches back. Stop at that 1/4 of an inch box. And then back stitch. I'm going to grab the other side. Move these threads. Fold it up. Pop a few clips to make sure there's no shifting. Back stitch. Stopping at that 1/4 of an inch box. Grabbing the side. Man, I was not good at trimming threads when I was basting. This does get bigger, so just, take your time. Use as many clips as you need. Use as few clips as you need. Do whatever suits you best. There's really no right or wrong answer. It's like whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, and this is the last one. The side. You know what? This is what happens when you're in a rush. I needed to put the front pocket on somewhere. So I'm going to unpick this one so I can add the front pocket. I just totally skipped a step. Don't rush. That's what happens. Because I would have sucked. I would be like, why isn't my magnet? Oh. Okay. So I'm going to take this, make sure my front flap is up, the little 1-inch thing so it doesn't mess up. I'm going to attach the pocket by machine basting it up and around. I'm still using the same stitch of 3. I don't know. I'm like one of those people that gets stuck on one stitch, and that's all I can foresee. Okay. Now you can leave this flap just like this, or you can create like pockets, like have one side and then, or have like a lipstick thing. I'm going to just create I'm going to create a crease. I'm going to do a line, like a 1-inch line. Let me see if I can can I draw this? Let me see. I'm going to create a 1-inch line or 1-inch box around the magnet so that the pockets are even in the front. Because I don't like when a pocket's like nice and loose like that. Because what happens is, whatever you have in there is gonna fall right out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stitch this on, stitch following my line, and go across. And then I'm gonna give you a tip. I usually use rivets in the place to make sure that the pocket can have nice, it doesn't wear and tear, but there is a method you can do with stitching. And I'm going to show you soon as I make this last stitch. So let me trim this thread. What I'm going to do is we went down this one way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across vertically across the stitch, just like 2 or 3 stitches. You can decrease your stitch length to like a 2, and you can go back and forth. And because now you have stitches going horizontally and vertically, it helps with the reinforced stitching. The pocket can have a lot more wear and tear. And just go over that. It doesn't have to be that big. It could just be 2 or 3 stitches going back and forth, and then bring it over, and you can cut your threads. It's a weird technique, but it helps a lot because I hate when a pocket pulls and then all the threads just deravel and then the pocket becomes unusable. So by doing a quick stitch, tack stitch on this side, now we have 2 really awesome slip pockets with really great reinforcements, and we're good to go. And you can kind of see it on this side where you can see I did I went up and down a little crooked, and then you can see the reinforcement tack stitches. And you can do that with any bag, and it will just help tremendously. Now we're going to sew this back together using that 1/4 of a inch seam allowance and stocking the box, and making sure that our top 1 inch is folded up. You use as many of these clips as you need or don't need. It's really up to you. Make sure you back stitch. Okay. And then we're going to do it on this side. Apparently trimming threads again, because I am not the best at trimming threads. Okay. Now we're going to assemble the bottom. We're going to sew the bottom to the exterior. And we're still going to use that 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to draw real quickly. Okay. All right. And we're just going to clip right sides to right sides. I like to start at one end and just kind of start clipping. This is always the most awkward part, but once you do it, it comes out beautifully. So we have some starting and stopping points. So a few clips might pop off, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. And I like to have the bulk up so that way I can squish it to make sure all raw edges meet up. Oops, I did not hold my tails. Let's see. Rethread this real quick. cutting our threads. Okay, this is the last side. All right, so I'm going to trim all the threads, and then I'm going to turn wrong sides out, and I'm just going to trim up a little bit of the corners to help reduce the bulk. I'm just going to do at a corner, so that way it just helps. I feel like it helps reduce the bulk in that area, so I can round out or square up a little bit better. And it creates an awful lot of mess. We're going to turn this right sides out. And if you're watching this before you do this bag, I misstep at a step. Not only did I not sew this on right, but I wasn't supposed to sew the bottom at 1/4 of an inch and turn it into a tube. I was supposed to just turn this at 1/4 of an inch and then leave the raw edges to be caught in the bottom. So I kind of lost a 1/2 inch because it's 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. There's 2 pieces of fabric that equals a 1/2 inch, but I think we'll be able to work it out. And I'm just going to poke out all corners, and this comes together really beautifully. See, it just stands up on its own, and we're going to sew the flap right sides together. So I'm going to find my center on this, and what I'll do is I will put seam to seam, put a clip in it, roll this up by my center, and do a little snip. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to find my center, put a clip on the edges, and do a little snip. Right sides together for the flap. You're going to roll up this 1-inch seam, because you don't roll it up, then it's not going to all line up. And we're going to base this on at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then we're going to start constructing the lining. Just double checking before I sew it on. Okay. clip it. And then we're going to take it over to the machine and just machine baste it at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And again, I'm just going to not take my thread tails back. You would think I would have learned from last time. All right. Making sure raw edges stay. Oh, there's so when this comes together, see, hopefully it's not too bad. No, it's not. Okay, so it's gonna, when this comes together, it's gonna be like this. It's super cute. All right, so we're going to get the lining. There's a lining top and a lining bottom. So let me get that, put this to the side. And then I'm going to grab my lining tops. And I'm going to draw the seam allowance and then iron it because I did not do that. So in order to get the 1/2 inch flap, you draw 1 inch. Then you're going to get your iron. And not move with the erasable. There's some steam. Do the same thing on the other one. Okay. All right. We're gonna put tops and bottom lining together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Put a few clips in it. Just trim this extra soap use off so it doesn't go in my bottom seam allowance. Okay. We're going to bring this over to the machine and we're going to put these two pieces together using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so back stitch. Work on the other piece. Okay, I'm going to iron the seams. I think I'm going to do seams down on this. You can iron them open. You can grade one seam to be like 1/8 of an inch and then do 1/4 of an inch on the top. It's really up to you. You can do one up, one down, so that way it helps with the bulk. Or just open so it can be evenly distributed. Alright. We're going to put bottom edges together and sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So the edges that are not, that don't have the flap. Back stitch. And hold your toes. I mean, this is like my 3rd time doing that. I'm telling you, off week. It happens. I'm going to press the seam open, and then we're going to do some measurements to give this a really cool feature. Okay. If I can turn pages, it would be helpful. All right. Okay. Just drawing box. Nope, that was wrong area. All right. We're gonna use the lines that we just created and make crease. I'm hoping I'm doing this right. I think I am. I've done this once before. It's like origami for fabric. It's kind of interesting. Bring the line that you just, the two lines that you just created, and hopefully trimmed your threads, unlike me, to the seam. And then you're going to clip it. I'm just going to make sure. And then we're going to sew up the sides at 1/4 of an inch. If I did this right, it's going to be really cool. If not, then yeah, I might cry a little bit. 1/4 of an inch. Back stitch. Oh my goodness, I promise you. You know what? I need to have hold your threads on the magnet because apparently you're just not doing it. Okay. Move my pen. And then some threads. not catch. So the center seam needs to be tucked inside, and when it's done, it will give you this really cool envelope effect, and it's just a really pretty detail. So match your seam lines and tuck in the inner seam, and it will give you a nice. Trying to make sure everything is captured. Oops. All right, so this gives you a nice, like I said, envelope, and then we're going to match seam to seam and top stitch wrong sides on the bottom of the envelope seam 1/8 of an inch, just to give it some extra reinforcement to make sure that it stays in that shape. It's a really pretty finish for linings or even outside of the bags. It just gives it a very unique finish. And doing the 1/8 of an inch seam just ensures that it stays in that shape, you know. Okay, so we have our lining done, and we're going to put, we're like almost there. We're going to put the pattern together. We're going to get the exterior. Okay. Turn the exterior wrong sides out. So foam should be facing you. Place the lining exterior sides out. There's no wrong or right side for this. I'm gonna put it in, and we're not going all the way across the bag. We're only doing where the flap is. I'm marking my centers of the side panels, because this is really clever. You have 2 seams for the side panels, right? And then you only have 1 seam in the center for the lining. So it helps reduce bulk and makes it extremely domestic machine friendly. So I'm just going to put a clip on where the lining seam is to the mark that I made for the exterior, so they match up. We're going to just sew across the flat part at 1/4 of an inch just to attach them, and then we're going to turn everything the opposite side and match. So 1/4 of an inch of seam allowance. Just, we're not going across the back, just that back where the back flap is. At 1/4 of an inch. Do not go in the crease, or it can just make it a little, you can see where the lining attach later. And it gives it the extra reinforcement. The good thing about by Annie is the more you sew on it, the more the foam condense. It's condensed, so it becomes easier to sew. So now I'm going to put the bag's right sides out for the exterior. Push in the lining. And then we're going to fold over that 1/2 inch seam, and we're going to start clipping. Oh, you know what? We're going to be, I forgot a step. I always am in a rush and I always forget something. There is some interfacing that we're going to put in the seams, the side seams of the lining. We're going to adhere it. It's Decaville light, so when we install the hardware, it doesn't, it has some kind of, it has something to grip on. So what you're going to do, I'm sorry, you should have did this before you put the flat right sides together. I just made everything more difficult, and we got to squish everything down. We're going to open up these sides, the interior seams. You can finger press it, or you can grab an iron. It's really your choice. And we're just going to open that up. We're going to take a piece of this Decaville light, and you don't want to, you want to put it right underneath the fold line, so that when we're adhering it, it gives it a little bit more structure. It doesn't take a long time to adhere. It's an awkward position because of me. We're going to do that on the other side. I'm glad I remembered it though, and like again, this is part of the mistakes that we all make, because it just, you want that security of the strap not tearing through the fabric. And because Decaville light is not a woven material, it stabilizes the area. And you want it, like I said, to be right underneath that fold mark, because that's where we're going to be installing this hardware. Okay. I will put this iron down. And now we can tuck this back in and start getting prepared to putting our bag together. Because all we're going to do now is match all the seams clip it. Remove rogue hairs on the way. I'm just like bringing all the stuff. Make sure everything's pulled under. Okay. Let me get this rogue thread. And everything should be clipped in place. All right. So we're going to turn this one more time inside out with all the clips. So we could top stitch this with the flap perfectly down, so we're not guessing where the stitching is going. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do at 1/8. I will increase the stitches to 3.5. You always start in a corner. And now this is a very awkward shot, but you always start in the corner, so that way when you backstitch, the back stitches are not visible. And just at 1/8 of an inch. If you have to stop, make sure you're in the needle down position. Keep just turning. If you have a free arm, this will be really easy. Remove that arm from your domestic and it will so easy. It's not a lot of material, so it's easy to maneuver. Okay, and we're going to turn this right side out. Oh, this is so nice. This is so nice. Okay, so we did the lining. We put the bag together. And we are going to do this really cool L-shaped technique that is 1 inch, and it's going to help cinch in the bag because there's not a lot of fabric. And it's not a lot of bulk. This becomes a little bit easier. So let me get an erasable marker, and I'm just drawing the 1 inch down, and then I'm going to put a clip or two in each one. So what I like to do is I like to do one side first, sew it, and then do the other side so I'm not having clips everywhere. And you're just sewing it out. You're going to go down and then across. And you're going in from like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance so that way it's not taking a whole lot away. Make sure you definitely trim off threads here because they'll be like super visible. Not only does it give it a cinched waist, I feel like it just gives it, the stitching gives it a little bit more security to hold its shape. But like I said, foam is has like this really awesome memory, and it's super cool. And if you're going to use a marker, this is where those heat friction pins, or if you have a chalk marker, only the white, would be really handy because you're just drawing a small L with a couple reinforced stitches. So that way the bag doesn't gape open when it's closed. And then again, I'm just drawing the 1 inch mark. You can use pens, as I have a marker cap in my mouth. You can use a pen too for placement, or a wonder clip. You're not going through a whole lot of foam. It's not really bulky. From this one, you can go from the side and go up. Okay, we're almost done. Now we're going to put this hardware on it, and this bag is done. See, it gives it a more structure top. So see how squared it is, and it won't like gape open on the sides. So when you close it, it looks, there's like a real more like a boxy appeal. This is a very striking bag. Not only the fabric, but the shape of the bag. This is like really nice for people that have iPads or a tablet. I can see this being a commuter's bag. I can see this being an everyday bag actually too. So we're going to need, we have the messenger bag. We need to get out our strap, our hole punch, and we're going to be putting the placement of this approximately, let's see, can I get that purple one? Thank you. Two inches. Okay. So we're going to get the screw, and we're going to remove the first set of screws and place them right here. And then we have a template to draw the holes, and then we're going to punch them out. This is a horrible color. I gotta get a color that I can see myself. Let's see. Yeah, I see that. You may not see it, but I see it. Okay. So we're going to use the largest setting that comes with this punch to punch out the holes clear. Okay. And then I'm going to grab my glue. I'm going to put it around this area. You can use, again, fray check will work really well. I just always have like a beacon around for some odd reason. We're going to put this through the holes. Take one screw. Did I lose my lip? Okay. Take one screw and screw it in. Make sure it's not at a slant, or you can strip it. Oh, this is nice. Okay. Let's do the other side. We're going to remove the 2 screws. I like the way this hardware looks. It gives it a really nice high-end chic look. We are going to mark our centers. Any of the dots where we're going to poke holes in. Let's see. All right. You need to hold this down kind of like a fist. And because this is cloth, it might take 1 or 2 punches. And remember, we're going through that Decaville too. Get some glue. All right. Put the hardware through the holes. Put the face plate on. Grab 1 screw. Oh, wow. Okay. Put the plates on. And we did it. We're done. All right. So let's look over this bag real quick. I'm going to get some water. Then, all right. All right. So we have like a mini messenger. I have seriously some majorly de-threading. We have a mini messenger that has a really nice high-end chic look. I definitely would recommend everyone to press this, or you can leave clips overnight and it will just form. You have your nice pockets, a lovely interior with like envelope kind of decorations, and a strap that has like really nice hardware finish. Like, I really like how these strap ends look. I've never used them before, and now I want to order them in every color. What I do is, you can give this foam a really good press, which I'm going to do off camera, and then, or you can leave the clips in overnight and it should be fine. But this is the finished bag. I love the facing on the webbing to give it some extra security. I love the pocket in the front where I made two slip. You can make a chapstick one and just make a smaller stitch right here and the interior. And then you get your taste of drop-in lining. And it's just a beautiful bag. I could see this bag as so many holiday gifts this year because it could be used for numerous things. It could be a mini diaper bag. It could be a weekend mini vacation bag. It could be an everyday tote or everyday messenger bag to go back and forth. Commuter tote. This would be really nice for children because I think their 13-inch tablet computer things, especially stay-at-home kids, are could fit in here. This is a really nice bag. I love the pattern. I love using hardware that I don't see that much in the bag world right now, and I don't know why. It was really fun to install, and it gives it a really nice finish. So we are done. And if you have any questions, please leave your questions down below. If you have any comments or any suggestions, leave them comment down below. I would greatly appreciate if you do a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification button. And if you think this video is worthy of share, so please share it. I will leave all of information where you can get the pattern or purchase, be a part of Sew Your Bag box subscription each month. And that's it. This is a really good box and I'm really excited for it. And this bag is just beautiful. So until the next time I see you, I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe. Bye.